title of this prophetic dream is called A Strange Spiritual Warfare Dream by Doneen Wallace. October 5th, 2020. I saw these creatures that walked on two legs that looked like the legs of a dog. They were over 9 feet tall, muscular, and could run fast. It was night outside, and no one was outside. People lived in fear and were afraid. These creatures wreaked havoc on neighborhoods and communities. I was running, not knowing where I would see another. I began to pray, asking God to lead and guide me and to protect me from these creatures. All of a sudden, a bright glowing man who was also tall stood beside me. In his hand was this unusual weapon that he was using to shoot these creatures, and they would scream and disappear into puffs of black smoke. I felt safe with him. His face and skin was very soft, and he had a baby face, but he was very strong and powerful. I could see the brightness in him because he glowed like he had a light inside of him. This man stayed beside me for a while as we moved quickly through yards of grass and onto the streets. These tall, jet black looking dog creatures that stood on two legs were coming out of bushes and from around houses. Not all of those dog creatures looked alike. They had different faces like what you see in the movie Men in Black. It was so many of them, and I thought to myself, where did they come from? It was as if the land or earth was infested with them. The bright-bodied tall man handed me the weapon he was using. I pleaded with him, please don't leave me. I'm scared. He looked at me and said, this is how you use this weapon. Another very tall, ugly creature darted out on the street. The brightly lit bodied tall man put his hands over top of my hands and guided my arms and how to shoot the weapon. We hit the creature together, and just like the others, it disappeared into black smoke. He told me that I needed to aim it directly at the target in the right location and pull it back to release the weapon. It was a very unusual weapon that I have never seen in my life, but it worked in killing these creatures. When the man who was with me for a while left, I followed his instructions and was able to move to where I was going. Night was never the same. The sounds in the air and sky were as if you could hear the voices and strange sounds all around. The light exposes these creatures, and they hide in the shadows in dark places but will run out into the light to get to the other side of the street. I noticed that they didn't want to be seen or caught. They were very ugly and huge. They came in different shapes and sizes. No two were alike. The streets were full with these things, as there were no people outside in sight. These creatures broke into houses and damaged things. They were very destructive. They had a very strong smell. One was badly deformed, with different parts on him that didn't fit. Couldn't tell what it was supposed to be. His posture was bent over, and they showed their teeth making this deep noise of different voices out of its mouth, screaming. The brightly lit man told me I didn't need to be afraid and that what I carried could destroy them. I noticed that he wasn't afraid and seemed to be used to seeing them. Their appearance didn't affect or turn him away from killing as many as he could. They could outrun his aim or shot. He was a sharpshooter from any distance and range. Dream ended. And that'd be it for the prophetic end-time dream visions containing Dogmen. And to my knowledge, I'm the first one on YouTube to actually share this prophetic end-time dream vision containing Dogmen. I've actually held on to this dream vision for the past 3 years because to me, it was very special. And I feel like I was led to hold on to it and to share it later in the future. I follow this Christian Facebook page that shares a lot of different dream visions from different people containing the end times. Even dream visions from, with the Nephilim, like the giants, fallen angels, demons, chimeras, different hybrids, and, how it's going to be relevant in the end times. We do know that the Bible talks about it would be just as it was in the days of Noah, meaning that in the end times it would be just as it was before the great flood, before God had to wipe out majority of these creatures, because he said that he had to clean up the earth because there was no flesh that was pure. All flesh was corrupted except for Noah and his family. So anyways, as far as the dream goes, I believe that tall, brightly lit bodied man that the person described was an angel. We hear a lot in the prophetic dreams and visions how people are beside an angel or fighting alongside an angel and are giving messages. Just like if you go back in the Bible, Jesus' earth father, Joseph, before the Messiah was born in the flesh, God sent an angel into Joseph's dream to let him know that your son is going to be born through Mary, and he's going to be Jesus, the Messiah. And this is why Mary was called the Virgin Mary, because she never had intimate sex or anything with Joseph. And there's other examples in the Bible how angels were sent in people's dreams to give messages. But back to the tall, brightly lit man, angel being in the dream again, he told this person that what you hold alone could defeat these creatures. And we heard that this person was given a weapon, but he wasn't talking about a material weapon that we're going to need in the physical realm to take these creatures down. That was more of like a metaphor in a way. Basically, I believe that he was saying that what we hold inside of us, because that's what he said, what you hold inside of you could defeat these creatures, which I believe is Jesus Christ. I've heard in countless stories with Dogmen and other cryptids that when a person prays or says the name Jesus Christ, that these creatures flee or back off. In the book of Mark, chapter 16, verse 17, it says, "In my name they will cast out devils." And in the book of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19, it says, "Behold, I've given you authority to trample over serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall hurt you." And, in the book of Romans also talk about, it says, "All those who call on my name shall be saved." So, God keeps his promises to his remnant. So, as far as these creatures go, just like in the dream, it talked about how these creatures, they were very strong smelling. We heard in countless Dogman stories how they have very strong, foul smells, smelling like wet dog, strong, pungent urine, decaying flesh, the smell of sulfur, just like how demons smell like. We hear all the time how they're 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 feet tall. We hear also, just like in a dream, how they don't like really being out in the light as much. There's some sightings that they do be out in the light, but the majority of the part, these creatures like being kept in the shadows, and they don't like being seen. So, and just like in real testimonies, they're very destructive, and they cause and wreak havoc in different parts of the world. So, what I believe with these creatures are, I believe there's different variants of them. We do know, we go back to the book of Enoch, and in the book of Giants, it talks about these watchers, 200 of them, these selective group of fallen angels that took it upon themselves to fornicate with human women, and not only human women, but also with different animals as well. So if you mix fallen angel DNA with a canine DNA, and splice it with a man's DNA or a human's DNA, what would result with that would turn out to be? Just think about it. An abomination. We're hearing a lot of testimonies with atheists when they first encounter these creatures. One of the things they call these things are abomination, whether it's Dogmen, Bigfoot, or whatever. They say that term abomination. But I do believe, anybody who come in close contact with these creatures, if you use the name Jesus Christ, you will be saved. I've collected over 20 cases of people calling on the name Jesus Christ, and these creatures backed off. They fled. The devil can't do nothing to you. Even the devil needs permission. Now, that's why I believe why some of these creatures are told to not attack people, even those who aren't really in line with Christ. We hear it a lot of times that people say that for whatever reason they did not attack me. They let me go. And I do believe that they're given permission to only take a selective group of people. There's some type of spiritual law that I believe that they need permission to do anything. Because when they see Dogman, at least most people, when they just see Dogman, they just think of the physical part of them. But these creatures are spiritual. They're more spiritual than I believe than are physical. I believe they're both, but I believe the spiritual role plays more in them. It's like people say when they see tracks and all of a sudden their tracks disappear. I believe these creatures are interdimensional. They're jumping into portals. That's why they're hard to be tracked and found on most parts. I could go in more depths and detail I could just pinpoint to prove my point of what these creatures are. I believe some of them there's different variants of these creatures. I believe some of them are Nephilim. I believe some of them are fallen angels, because we do know angels are shapeshifters. They can turn into anything that they want. We hear in the Bible how the devil turned into a serpent, then turns into a dragon. And I do believe our government are gene splicing, doing genetic experiments in laboratories and underground bases and other secluded parts of the world and creating abominations. I do believe that they're in allegiance with fallen angels, and they're covering these creatures up, and they're monitoring them and releasing them in national parks and using these creatures to hunt down humans. And it goes deep, real deep. Our government, the powers that be, they're in some very deep and dark stuff. But I do want to say, continue to grow your relationship with Jesus Christ in these last days, because times is getting very dark as we are approaching more and more close to the tribulation. And I do believe home in heaven is very near. So practice repentance, continue to pray every day, even on your best days, your worst days. God is with you wherever you go, and he's not going to give up hope or give up on you, So he thinks about you all the time. He loves you beyond all understanding, even when you don't know it. And just continue the good faith, and I'll see you guys next time.